It's me, Mrs. Martin, and I miss you all very much. I hope you're being safe, and I wanted to read a story to you. This is what we would be reading if we were at school together, but we can read it like this together. The title is Fish is Fish. The author who wrote the words is Leo Lionni. We're going to be reading lots of books he wrote. He also illustrated, he drew the pictures. Fish is Fish. At the edge of the woods was a pond, and there was a minnow and tadpole. And a tadpole swam among the weeds. They were inseparable friends. That means they didn't like to leave each other. They were inseparable friends. One morning, the tadpole discovered that during the night, he had grown 2 little legs. Can you see 2 little legs? Look, he said triumphantly. That means proud. Look, I'm a frog. Nonsense, said the minnow. How could you be a frog? If only last night you were a little fish, just like me. I wonder how that happened. They argued and argued until finally the tadpole said, frogs are frogs and fish are fish. They argued. That means they weren't getting along. Oh no, I hope they decide to become friends again. And the weeks that followed, the tadpole grew tiny front legs and his tail got smaller and smaller. What do you think's happening? What's happening right there? And then one fine day, a real frog now, he climbed out of the water and onto a grassy bank. I like this picture right here where he's crawling out of the water. The minnow, too, had grown and had become a full-fledged fish. He often wondered where his 4-footed friend had gone. But days and weeks went by, and the frog did not return. Days are a long time. Weeks are a long time to a little fish. But he can wait, just like you. Then one day, with a happy splash that shook the weeds, the frog jumped into the pond. Where have you been? Asked the fish excitedly. I've been about the world, hopping here and there, said the frog, and I have seen extraordinary things. Extraordinary. Let's say that together. Extraordinary. Boy, that's a lot of claps. Like what? Asked the fish. Birds, said the frog mysteriously. Birds. And he told the fish about the birds who had wings and 2 legs and many, many colors. What do you think? Do those look like birds? As the frog talked, his friend saw the birds fly through his mind like a large feathered fish. That's his imagination. That's the fish's imagination. What else? Asked the fish impatiently. You see him at the bottom talking? It's interesting how the frog went out of the water and now he's back in the water. But the fish, did the fish come out at all? This is funny. Cows, said the frog. Cows? They have 4 legs and horns and eat grass and carry pink bags of milk. That's what he thinks a cow looks like. That's his imagination, the fish's imagination. And people, said the frog. Men and women and children, and he talked and talked until it was dark in the pond. But the picture in the frog's mind was full of lights and colors and marvelous things. That's what the fish thinks people look like. And he couldn't sleep. If he had only jumped out like his friend and seen the wonderful world. Now, do you think it's a good idea that the fish jumps out? Now, this page has no words, so you get to just look at the illustrations and think. What would be good words to use here? And so the days went by. But the little fish has been waiting and waiting and waiting for his friends. The frog had gone, and the fish just lay there dreaming about birds in flight and grazing cows and those strange animals all dressed up, and that his friend called them people. I wonder what the fish is going to do. One day he finally decided that come what may, he too must see them. And so with a mighty whack of the tail, he jumped clear out of the water and onto the bank. Now, is that a good idea for a fish to jump out of the water? He has to stay safe inside the water. Sometimes we don't want to stay inside, but we have to. We have to stay safe, just like the fish. Oh no, look at the fish. Do you see him? He's out of the water. He should have listened to his friends and his family. He landed in the dry, warm grass, and there he lay, gasping for air, unable to breathe. Help! He groaned feebly. Feebly is little. Just a little tiny groan. I think Zeus likes this story. Do you like this story too? Luckily, the frog had been hunting butterflies nearby and saw him, and with all of his strength, he pushed him back into the pond. Now, that's a good idea. The frog is pushing the fish back in the water. I think it's a good idea to stay where you're safe. Still stunned, the fish floated about for an instant. That's really quickly. Just an instant. Then he breathed deeply, letting the clean, cool water run through his gills. That's how fish breathe. They breathe through their skin in little slits called gills. Gills. Now he felt weightless again, and with an ever so slight motion of his tail, he could move to and fro and up and down as before. He likes to float in the water. Do you like to float in the water? The sun rays reached down within the weeds and gently shifted patches of luminous color. Luminous, like lit up color. This world was surely the most beautiful of all worlds. He smiled at his friend the frog, who sat watching him from a lily leaf. You were right, he said. Fish is fish. See the frog? He's out of the water, but the fish has to stay in the water. The end. So until we can be together, I just want you to know Miss Kathy and I are praying for you. And I brought our names so I could think about it at home. I'm praying for Davis and Alex and Layla. And I'm praying for Jake and Logan and Theodore and Van and Elizabeth and Ava and Natalia and Joey and Amelia and Bennett and Addie and Scarlett, Madeline, and Braylon. That's 17 friends to pray for. And I'll pray for you every day. We wish you well. See you soon.